Straight up. Let's answer some of these questions here real quick in the chat room. Let's see. Let me make sure I don't miss any. Cheryl said, Lisa, how long after Satan is cast down does Jesus come? Well, that's the question. See, we don't have a day or an hour for the Lord's return, but we do know when to expect the evacuation. Okay? The sixth seal opens. There's a great earthquake. There's war in heaven. Satan is cast down along with his evil angels to the earth like a meteor shower. After Satan is cast down, then Jesus probably would not delay his arrival. But we don't know exactly when Satan is cast down, and we don't know when Jesus is going to show up. That depends on how the war in heaven goes. God knows that, but we don't. We can tell you that he'll come somewhere in between that window, July 27th, when the center blood moon of the triad appears, and September 10th or 11th at the Feast of Trumpets, when the saints are evacuated. We know he comes in between that window in there somewhere, but we don't know a day or an hour for the king's return. We do know when the sixth seal opens, very possibly. Okay, there's the blood moon. And we do know when the evacuation is, because Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 15. Let's boogie over there. 1 Corinthians. Said Thessalonians, didn't I? 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And let's start at verse 51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. Now notice this next verse tells us everything. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. The twinkling of an eye is a unit of measurement on the Hebrew clock that comes at the 1 minute between day and night that is neither. That's the transitional minute that goes from day to night. And it's not day and it's not night. It's the 1 minute in between. And that is called the twinkling of an eye. And that's when the last trump is blown. It says, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. Now, the last trump is associated with the Feast of Trumpets. You have 100 trumpet blasts through the entire 48 hours of the feast, but you have 3 special trumpets. A first trump when the feast starts, the great trump at the midpoint of the feast, and then you have the last trump at the end of the feast. Now, so this is saying our evacuation is in the 1 minute between day and night that is neither, the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump of the Feast of Trumpets. That's the one that is blown to conclude the feast. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. That's where the dead are regenerated, and we shall be changed. So we know when the evacuation is, if it's this year. We can only go just one day out of the whole year. And that would be the last day of the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? There's no other day of the year that we can go. The rapture just can't happen out of the blue, just any day of the year. Now, Jesus can come for you any day because people die. Okay? So don't think that you're not going to see him till the Feast of Trumpets in September, because you might not even be alive that long. Who knows? We don't have any idea. I mean, I'm not even guaranteed to be here in another 5 minutes. So I hope I will be, though, so we can conclude our Bible study. But as you can see, there's only one day out of the year that we can be evacuated. And the evacuation will occur in the same year that the sixth seal opens at the blood moon, and then you have that window in time from July 27th through September 11th. And our evacuation could be either the 10th or the 11th at sunset. It depends on whether or not the priests see the new moon that shows up on September 9th with the naked eye. If they do see it, then our evacuation would be on the 10th at the last trump as the feast concludes. If they don't see it with the naked eye on the 9th, the feast would start on the 10th and end the 11th, and then we would go the 11th at sunset in that case. So we won't know. There's two possibilities there. We would go at the at sunset on the 10th if it starts on the 9th, and if it starts on the 10th, we would go at sunset on the 11th. Okay? And I do believe that this year is the very best possibility we can come up with. That doesn't mean it'll happen that way, but we're going to know ahead of time if we're going to go in September, because once that center blood moon arrives, July 27th, if we see the great earthquake and we see the meteor shower and everybody, this is going to be a big deal. When you see the war in heaven and then Satan and his evil angels cast down like a meteor shower onto the earth, then we'll know that September is when we're going for sure. If we see the sixth seal effects in July, okay, when that at the center blood moon of the triad, if we start seeing those effects after that time, then we'll know that September is when we're going. Okay. But here's the thing, next year, Feast of Trumpets, rather than this year, next year in 2019, Feast of Trumpets, that's too late, according to Daniel's equation. The temple isn't even going to wait until the next 9th of Av. So we had ruled out the 9th of Av for the temple because this year, 9th of Av, is too soon. It doesn't fit. It's too soon. Next year is too late. But see, you have to have the information from Daniel's equation to figure all this out. And that's what we've done. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. It means it's a possibility. Okay? I'm not a psychic. I don't have a magic wand or a crystal ball. This is research, not magic. Okay? But Daniel's equation gives us August 17th, 2022 as the very end of the prophetic generation. If we back up 45 days for the restoration of the earth, we find that the tribulation period, the very latest it could end, is July 3rd, 2022. If you back up by 1,290 days, that brings you to December 21st, 2018. And that would be when the sacrifices and oblations cease. And that would also be the start of the Jews' 1,335 days, according to Daniel 12. And that's at that point, there's only 1,335 days left in the generation. So that's these dates I'm giving you are the very latest if I have the solution to Daniel's equation correct. Now, maybe I don't, but I might. So consider them yourself. Now, if you take the end of the trib, July 3rd, 2022, and you back up 1,260 days, 3.5 years, according to the Jewish calendar, then you have January 20th, 2019, and the final blood moon of the triad comes the very next day. And there would be your abomination of desolation. Okay? Now, given this timing, this is the very latest these things can occur. But see, if the abomination of desolation can't occur until January 20th, 2019 at the latest, or the 21st when the blood moon shows up, one of those 2 days, then the evacuation has to be prior to that time. So the very latest the abomination of desolation can occur is January 20th or 21st, 2019. So we would have to back up to the nearest Feast of Trumpets prior to that date, and there would be our evacuation, and back up from there to the nearest blood moon, which would be July 27th, and there's your 6th seal. These are the very latest these things can occur if I have Daniel's equation correctly solved. And, you know, I'm not 100% convinced that I do have all this information 100% accurate. No, I'm not. I believe it's a really, really good possibility. A really good possibility, considering the things that we're seeing in the world. This Gog and Magog war, the Muslim war, it says armies will gather around Jerusalem when the desolation thereof is nigh, is just ahead, okay? So what that tells us, that these armies, these Muslim armies, are going to gather around Jerusalem prior to the very latest that this could occur according to the solution that I have currently from Daniel's equation. And so the armies would be gathering in, what, December, January? Now, Erdogan, or Erdogan, as the Jews call him, he has been saying, like some arrogant, crazy person, that he only needs 10 days to destroy Israel. Well, after this battle is over, there are no more Muslim armies. Nope, they're all gone. There is no more Muslim opposition that is strong enough to make any difference anymore at all. Okay? No more difference anymore at all. So the temple has to be going up, you know, in the next few months. For it to be defiled in January, I would say back it up, you know, 6 months or so. Don't you need about 6 months to build the temple? Or maybe even 9. I don't know. I think they would have to probably start building it, you know, somewhere around June or July, I would think, for it to be defiled by January. And you have Muslim armies gathering between that time. So the very best possibility that we have right now is for the 6th seal to open in July at that center blood moon. And when that happens, if there's an earthquake, if you have a war in heaven where the sun goes dark and the moon turns to blood, you have this war in heaven. And then Satan and his evil angels are cast down like a meteor shower. And this meteor shower is really intense and frightening to the people of the earth. And it drives everybody underground because the whole earth is being just pelted with these fallen angels that look like meteors falling out of the sky. They just land everywhere and destroy wherever they land. And they just land randomly everywhere. And if there's about 30,000 of them, you're looking at about 30,000 hits with what people are going to think are meteors or asteroids or whatever, the smaller ones that are going to hit the earth. And this kind of thing could cause a big earthquake. So we'll just have to see how it all works out. But as to your question that you addressed about how we don't know the day or the hour of the Lord's return, that's right, we don't. And we don't claim to. But I can tell you that it is very possible that he would show up during that 6-week window between the 6th seal opening and our evacuation. Because the word indicates he comes in between those two events. But that doesn't mean I'm going to know the day or the hour where Satan is cast down, or the day or the hour when Jesus arrives. His arrival would be dependent on when Satan is cast down. I don't see any reason for him to delay in the word after Satan's cast down. Okay? So we know from the book of Daniel that Gabriel, the archangel, came with a message for Daniel the very first day he started praying. But then Gabriel had to fight with the prince of Persia for 3 weeks. And then Michael came, the other archangel, and assisted in that battle and took over that fight while Gabriel took the message to Daniel. So we know that it took the prince of Persia and Gabriel, they fought for 3 weeks. And the battle still wasn't over between them. Now we don't know how long the war in heaven is going to take place, but we can already see through a previous reference that we have a 3-week battle between an archangel and the prince of Persia, which is an evil angel. Okay. So we know that they can fight for at least 3 weeks, but see, even after 3 weeks, that battle was not resolved. Michael came and took over the fight, so Gabriel could get the message to Daniel. But, an angel battle, we don't know how long that's going to last, but we know that it's not going to be more than 6 weeks, because the only time we can be evacuated after Jesus comes is right there at the last trump, Feast of Trumpets. Okay, does that make sense to you? I got? All right, let me scroll down here. Okay. Does that make sense to you, Crash? Does that answer your questions? Oh. Let's see. Cheryl says, I would have made a great accountant. Well, probably not. Math and we don't know each other very well, but the math on this is really simple, which is why even I can figure it out. And we'll see if I have it figured out. I might not. Okay, I might not. These are scriptural possibilities, but they're really, really good ones. Really good ones. And given the state of the world, very, very possible. Very possible. Okay? But if we don't go this year in September, we wouldn't go until the whole next year after that. But the way it looks, if I have got the solution to Daniel's equation correct, and it's real easy. It's real easy. And I've gone through that with you guys many times. It's not like, it's not like huge complicated math. It's very simple. And if I've got that correct, then Daniel's equation correct, then this is probably correct, and that's the latest. And that would take us all the way to the very day. Somebody is knocking on my window. Seriously?